Hi, it's Rob Moore here. Welcome to the Disruptive Entrepreneur video podcast. You might recognise this man. I'm in Putney outside Daley Thompson's gym, Daley Fitness. Come inside where I'm going to interview probably the best decathlete the world has ever seen. Daley, thanks for allowing us in your gym.
No problem, Rob. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, what a great place. So we were just talking before the cameras started rolling, and I asked you if you missed your old days of sport. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. But and the answer to the question was yes, because I think that being a professional sportsman is probably the best life in the world. Slightly better than being a property investor. But and the reasons for that is that you're doing the thing that you love best. Mm-hmm. You're usually with your mates doing it. You're doing it somewhere warm. Yeah. And best of all, you're young and have no responsibility. So you know, the harder you want to work, hopefully the more you'll get out of it.
So you never really saw it as a chore to train? Did you love to train, or were you the kind of like, because Muhammad Ali always says he never really used to like training, but he trained because he wanted to be the best. But I think there are other sportsmen who love the training as well as the competing. Where does Daley fit in that?
I reckon I fit in the last one, because in athletics, I think, and what they call performance sports, so Olympic type sports, it is all about how much work you put in, because everybody's talented. Yeah. Everybody can do up to a certain level, but it's usually the people that work a little harder and get tougher mentally through that hard work who tend to prevail.
So if you say compare yourself to other great decathletes,
as I do,
of course, that's the curse, I guess. What do you think gave you the edge?
To be honest, I think that I was mentally better than 95% of the people. Actually, it's a lie. 99% of the people that I competed against. And to be honest, I think that is all based on a foundation of hard work. Yeah. Because obviously over the years I've met a lot of people, and I've met a couple of people who are more talented than me. Right. I've met probably a couple of people who work harder than me, but I've never met anybody that has got both. So. Right.
And so when you say the mental edge, is there anything specific you can say? I mean, seeing as you don't compete anymore, your competitors aren't going to nick your tricks, so I guess you can...
I don't think, again, I don't think they're tricks. I just think that, when you go to a big competition and you're expecting to do well, there's a lot of pressure about that. And I know Olympic champions and world record holders who don't enjoy being under that kind of pressure, because at a major games, everybody is living in a village, and that doesn't suit some people. No. They don't like having everybody around them and the only thing being about the games, and that's the only conversation, and they don't enjoy being in the lunch queue with all their competitors and all that, because they just don't enjoy that tension. Whereas me, it's the best thing in the whole world, because I want to see everybody every day, and I want to be right in the mix.
I mean, we're in your gym and you're here a lot, aren't you? It's not just you don't just put your face on the window outside and...
No, I'm here most days, but then I think that if I'm going to have a gym, I might as well work it as much as I can. So 4 or 5 days a week I do classes and do a bit of personal training.
Okay, so back to the mental side of the game then, and let's talk a bit about the pressure. So there must have been massive expectation on you, and I always got the impression watching you that you just look like you're always enjoying it, and I don't know if you just hid it well, but like you never really seemed like you felt the pressure, but it must at sometimes have been pretty immense.
Well, no, again, it's like I was previously alluding to. I think that some people don't see it as pressure. Some people just see it as another great day at work, and that's how I always found it. I really enjoy being competitive, because for me, it's not about winning or losing. It's only about doing as well as I can. And I've always been of the mind that, you know what, if it doesn't work today, I'm going to go away, I'm going to work really harder, and the next time I do it, I'm going to be better. So I don't actually mind if I lost once in a while. I didn't, But
well, yeah, it's easy to say that, isn't it? You never lost.
Absolutely. So, but you know, I think that again, it just being strong mentally just helps.
Yeah. And do you think if maybe you place too much importance on winning, that can have give you that pressure?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot to do with it. Is just the fact that people don't get along with it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that what you can do, and very few people do this, you can practice being competitive.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you can, you know, change a lamb into a lion, but you can make yourself into a really fierce lamb.
Right. Yeah. A fierce lamb. I like that.
Fierce lamb.
Yeah.
And people don't practice it enough.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was training and stuff, every day I used to try and do something to the very best of my ability.
Right.
So that after a year or two, I knew that the worst performance that I'd done this year would be good enough to do it. So you go into the circle or you stand at the end of the long jump runway and you know that you've never done less than this. So why should you today?
Yeah. Reminds me, there's a famous golf sort of psychology coach called Bob Rotella, because my son's, he was the best 5-year-old golfer in the world, but then he turned 6. So, and he said, and I think I'm getting this from you, he said, practice like it's a competition so you can compete like it's a practice.
There you go.
Is that maybe how you saw it, or how you maybe did it?
You see, your golf man said it well, but not as well as me.
Yeah, of course.
But that's it, exactly that. For me, the competition is the fun bit.
Yeah.
The hard bit is the 350 days that you've spent training beforehand, getting ready to have the easy bit.
Yeah.
You know, because on any given month, I might have done 3,000 javelin throws.
Wow.
But in the competition, you've only got 3.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And what kept you doing that for so long? I mean, weren't you like 10 years and no one beat you?
Yeah, I kept doing it because it's the thing I enjoyed most in the world. And, you know, and when you find something that, you know, is you know, you want to stay with it.
Yeah. Do you remember the time? Because it's not like there's a university degree in decathlon. It's kind of like, how do you get into that? Do you remember the time when you were like, this is my thing?
I remember I used to be a sprinter when I was growing up, and I had a coach called Bob, and he came up to me one day and he said, look, he says, 4 of the guys in my athletics club, they're going to do a team decathlon. And I said, oh, what's a decathlon? I was 16.
Yeah.
I said, what's a decathlon? And he explained it all to me. And I said, sounds really fun, but I haven't done 7 of those things before. I've only done 3 of them. And he said, oh, okay, no problem. He said, do you think you'd like to go to it? And I said, why? And he said, well, one of the guys has got chicken pox and they need 4 people to go.
Yeah.
Because even if you just start and you don't finish, it's okay, because it's 3 to score.
Yeah.
And those 3, they're pretty good. They'll go and do it. So I said, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I had 3 weeks practice and doing all the things, trying the pole vault and all that kind of stuff. And you know, guess what happened?
Yeah, I think we know.
Guess
the
who
rest.
won?
Yeah.
No, but the thing was, because you do the decathlon over 2 days, and on the night in between, I remember I was in a tent because didn't have enough money to go and stay in a hotel. But I was in a tent. But I remember on the night in between thinking to myself, I'm going to be really good at this. Yeah. This is me.
You just knew.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you ever thank that guy who had chickenpox?
No.
Maybe you should. That's, it's funny how these sort of serendipitous moments happen.
Absolutely. It's that sliding doors thing.
Yeah.
You just never know what's around the corner.
Okay, so maybe we'll come back to the sport. I try my podcast to talk about things that maybe you haven't talked about 550 times in interviews. So should we talk about your after decathlon? Business, is it something, you know, you've had to reinvent yourself because you couldn't do what you did forever. So how did you do that?
Well, to be honest, for a few years, a couple of years, I was lost, didn't have a lot to do, because when you've done something 350 days a year, 6 hours a day, it's a fairly large...
Happens to a lot of sports people, doesn't it?
Fairly large hole to fill. And the problem is because you're so young, you haven't really had that much time to think about the sorts of things. In fact, to be truthful, I still struggle with it today.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's not I'm not, outside of sports, I'm not actually very ambitious.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you know, I want the kids to do well at school and all that kind of, but personally, I've done most of the things, I've met most of the people I want to meet, and I've been to most of the places I want to go. So anybody that knows me now would tell you what a boring git I am. But yeah, no, it was difficult, and to be honest, I just filled it up with, you know, a couple of appearances a month, or in the summertime just, you know, working for the BBC and things like that. Because this actually in the gym, and I'm nearly 60 now, is my first real job.
Right. And how do you find having a job now?
Do you know what I find is that, and one of the things I didn't realise, is that we have 16 or 17 people work here, and it's an awful lot of responsibility, knowing that every second Friday in the month or what it is, you have to have payroll. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes on a Wednesday.
Yeah, where's the money?
No, exactly, and it's really stressful having to make sure that everybody's okay and all that. And sometimes the things are just out of your control. You know, the DDs haven't materialised, or for, you know, because they're stuck in the ether. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a whole different experience, and takes a bit of getting used to. Yeah. But it's okay. I mean, and it's long hours because, you know, it's my place, so I have to be here at unsocial hours, and occasionally I have to do things that I might not even do at home, like wash the toilets out and all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't believe how mucky people are. But it's a good learning experience.
Yeah, and going from the very, very hyper individual sport that you did to the team sport, obviously playing in your football days and now here, differences? Is there one you prefer?
Yeah, I think I prefer just being in charge of my own destiny. Right. I think that, and this is no slight on anybody, but most people that I meet are not motivated. You know, they're quite happy just to do the minimum standard. Yeah. And, you know, and that's good. Yeah. And I think that finding like-minded, motivated people is difficult, and I suspect it's the same for just about any business. Yeah. You know, and of course I'm the owner, but most of the time throughout my life I tend to try and do, if I think it's worth doing, as good a job as I can. Yeah. And I know your parents tell you that when you're young, do all that, but that's how I try and live. So.
Yeah. Okay. So you've done 3, I believe, computer games. When I say done them, they've been done.
They've been done. Yeah.
How did you find that? Because I've not interviewed anybody who's had computer games made on their image.
Well, the funny thing is that I can honestly say I think the first one came out in '84.
I'm pretty sure I played at least one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So they've been
blisters on the fingers. You know.
Yeah. And I'm not buying you a joystick and all that. But I reckon there's not been a day since then when somebody at some point during the day hasn't walked up to me and said, "Oh, I used to play your game."
Yeah. And do you love that, or do you get bored of that?
No. Do you know what? It's nice. Yeah. It's nice that people can be bothered to say hi. But
and
also,
you made a mark on someone, didn't you?
And also it's nice to leave a nice mark on something. So yeah.
Did you deal with the business affairs of that, or are you
I had an agent, and they did all that. And
and what did you have to do? Did you just have to?
Nothing, just had to put my name to it.
Oh, you just endorsed it. Yep. And you know, financially, did it work out? It was good, was it, to do that?
Well, yeah, it made a few quid, and obviously that was at a time when athletes didn't make a lot of money, so you know, even a few £1,000s then was a king's ransom to me. So it was really good, and of course, you know, if I was doing it now and it was as successful, then I'd be probably loaded. But it was nice to have been at the start of it.
Sure. Do you think it's important as a sports person to embrace the ambassadorial roles and the sponsorships, endorsements, all of that? Because I can imagine if you're a sportsman, you're not necessarily a businessman, and I can imagine there's a bit of a conflict inside about that.
I didn't used to. I didn't used to. When I was competing and stuff, all I ever wanted to do was have enough money for lunch, and just to be able to go training, because I was only interested in being the best sports person that I could possibly be.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, that really meant that I didn't want any distractions and just wanted to get on with it and just go training every day and see my friends and do that. But obviously, you know, as you grow a little older and you got kids and all that kind of stuff, you realise that life is slightly bigger. I'm not sure that I would have necessarily changed my opinion, but you understand that there is another way to do it.
And also, in sport, you know, you can get to your 30s and it's over.
Absolutely.
And nothing wrong with cashing in on your own brand, surely. I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean, you may be different, but...
I think, again, it's a personal thing. From my own point of view, I think that there are 2 or 3 ways that once you've made a mark in sport, there's 2 or 3 ways you can go. So you can either get out there, be famous and earn a few quid. You can not do a lot and just move on, and or you can go somewhere in between. And I've kind of mostly gone down the road of that's all in the past, and I've moved on a little. But that isn't everybody's way, and I don't think either way is right or wrong. But I just think that for me, as I say, it was never about being famous or anything. I just wanted to be the best decathlete in the world. Yeah.
Okay. So, loaded question, because I know there was any, but did you have any real big rivalries when you were in your heyday?
Yeah, I had a terrific rivalry with some Germans. The biggest and best one was a guy called Jürgen Hingsen. And to be honest, I think it was the thing that made me, because in sport, if you're really, really good and miles better than everybody, people kind of admire the performance. But I think people are much more interested when there's a little bit of friction out there, or there's some kind of rivalry.
Well, that's what boxing had in the 80s and 90s, and it's missing it now, isn't it? I know we sound like old men, but...
No, but we are.
Yeah.
Well, you are. Yeah. But no, it's exactly that. And I think that the fact that he was a white guy and I was black, and he was German and I was English, and I just think that kind of really made it something that people got interested in, and it was good.
And was that really real for you, or was that a bit fueled by the media, or a bit both?
Oh, listen, no, I was trying to kill him every time. Because once you get out there, it's kill or be killed. You're out there to you haven't been wasting all those 6-7 hour days of training. You gotta do it.
Yeah, and at one point, did you obsess over him or your competition? Did it consume you, or were you able to compartmentalise it?
I think it would probably be fair to say that I was totally consumed.
Yeah.
You know, and seriously, I was taking 12 or 14 days off a year.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, and I was out there, as people say, I was out there on Christmas Day, and I was doing all that stuff because, and that's probably the greatest thing that I can say about Jürgen Hingsen, is that because of him, I was out there, doing it when people were indoors and it's pouring with rain or snowing or whatever. I'd be out there clearing the track and spend my hour or 2 out there. So.
Yeah. And do you think he made you a better decathlete?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I would have scored the same scores, and because the rest of the world were a little bit further behind, and it wouldn't have been so difficult. Yeah. And it was just, it was perfect for me. Yeah. I had somebody who was really close, and that motivated me and I was already motivated.
Yeah, of course.
It motivated me.
But that might have been the extra 5%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it could have been 1%. Yeah. Because the strange thing is, when our decathlon scores are exactly the same, his and mine. Right. So theoretically, we were tied. Yeah. But I always beat him, as I tell him every time I see him.
So you still see him every now and again?
Absolutely. Once a year he comes over and he takes his family to Wimbledon, and we have a couple of days together and that kind of stuff. So in fact we're friends now, because we couldn't be before, because we were both after the same thing, and it was very tense. But nowadays, I see him all the time. In fact, he's even taken me on a couple of holidays.
Right.
So
to the point where it's got weird.
Well, there's that. But the funny thing clearly is that I got all the glory, he got all the money.
Yeah. So, well, then that's. Hey, look, you seem happy enough.
Exactly.
Okay.
He'd swap.
Yeah, of course he would. Yeah. Well, you know, like money isn't everything, is it? I mean, legacy and inspiring other people.
And there's just job satisfaction.
Of course, yeah.
There's just job satisfaction. If the other things come as well, that's fine. But for me, it was just about job satisfaction.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm a parent. You're a parent. It must be really hard being, you know, the son of Daley Thompson and the shadow of the legacy. You can talk about this as much as you want or don't want, so you know it's your call. I'm very interested because my son's 6. We're playing in the US Kids World Championship, the IMG World Championship. He's a great little player, and I'm always like, well, how do I balance pushing him? Because I don't want a son who gives up first opportunity, so I don't want to be too soft on him. But I don't want him to hate the sport and my relationship with him. Do you have any sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah. I've got 2 sons that want to play sport. One who's 24 and he wants to be a decathlete, and another one that's 15 and he wants to be a rugby player. First and foremost, the major decision that I've made is that I want to be a dad and not a coach.
Yeah.
Because I personally couldn't do both the jobs because they demand.
They're different.
But they demand, actually, at the same time, they demand completely different appraisals of the same thing that's going on. So I think that from my point of view, I'm happy that my boys, now more than happy, I'm ecstatic that my boys have a brilliant reason every morning to get up.
Yeah.
And that they're going to go out there and they're going to train and they're going to try and be a better player or athlete today than they were yesterday. And to see how motivated my 2 sons are it makes me smile a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't encourage them. But what I do is, if one of them says, "Oh, let's go and do something," I'm the first one in the car. I'm carrying bags. I'm doing all the things that I said I would never do. I'm raking pits. I'm putting bars up.
Yeah.
Because
that's what you do for your
because
kids.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm really proud of both of them.
Yeah.
But if they didn't want to do it, I don't.
So
don't
you've taken the angle that it's going to be their decision. You're not going to in any way push them, but if they decide, you're there.
Absolutely, because they'll need help.
Yeah.
And you know, I know bits about it, and would love to help them, but it has to be their thing. It can't be mine.
Sure.
And one of the other things is, as you alluded to slightly before, is that it's really difficult to be the son or the child of somebody who's really famous, because everybody has rose-tinted glasses, and they think, "Oh, your dad was unbelievable. How can you do that?" Or they go say, "Oh, you must be really good. Oh, you're going to run really fast," and that kind of
like they were just born with it because you had it.
Absolutely. And that sort of, I think, puts a lot of kids off.
Yeah. So actually, just me saying, "Oh, you were born with it." How much do you think of your or anyone's success is genes, and you were born to be a decathlete, and how much is the sweat on the training field, would you say?
That's interesting. I think it's going to be different for everybody, but I think that for somebody like me or for me, I reckon that 85% of it is physical, and you're born with it, and there's 10 or 15% that you can improve on.
But bearing in mind, you got the same scores as your arch rival. That's not even 15%, 10%. That's 1%, isn't it? So someone could have strength and genetics as good as you and not put it to proper use.
Absolutely. And as I say, I've met a couple of people who I thought were the most physically gifted people that I've ever met. And there's been people that I thought worked harder than anybody I've ever met. But there's not people with both.
Sure.
So and I think that any time you make an Olympic team or any time you make an Olympic final, you're going up to more and more rarefied air.
Of course.
So that you know, when you get to the 100 meters in the Olympic final, that's probably 6 of the 10 fastest people that's ever lived.
Yeah.
You know, so there's only a little bit between them all.
Of course. Yeah. What would you say has been the best moment in your whole career?
Truthfully?
No, tell me a lie.
Okay.
Yes, truthfully.
The birth of my kids.
Yeah.
That's been the most fun thing
100%,
because it's not in the kind of sports that I play, you know what the outcome is going to be. I work really hard, I'm really good, I come first or second.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
And you know, if you pull a muscle, sure, but you can't cater for that. Yeah. So I always come first or second because that's the place I'm supposed to come, and whoever's supposed to come 4th or 5th usually comes 4th or 5th. Occasionally people rise up and down, but that's a lucky thing. Generally it goes the way it's supposed to go, and the favourites win.
Yeah.
So what's the question?
I'll come back to it actually, because you were saying about that. Well, I got a sense when you were saying that was, and the question was about the best moment. You talked about your kids,
it's my kids. So I knew all about the sports, but I didn't realise how happy, jolly,
how you would feel when your child is born.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're up to 28 now, my daughter, and it gets better.
Yeah.
It's the most incredible thing that's ever happened to you, and it gets better.
Yeah.
There's some shit bits in the middle, but no, seriously.
Was that like 13 to 17? Yeah.
My daughter didn't sleep through the night until she was 12.
Wow. Yeah, that's no good.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, seriously, it's just such a journey.
Yeah.
That they never tell you all about, and
of course.
And I probably wouldn't do it if they told you all about it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think for me with the golf with Bobby, the connection, because we were talking before off camera that, you know, I've retired a few times in life and I do this because I can, because property's been nice to me and looked after me. But, you know, I spend 3 hours a day with Bobby, you know, and there are a lot of parents who, you know, they kiss them before they've woke up, they kiss them when they've gone to bed. And
absolutely.
I guess, you know, one great thing sport will give you with your children is you be with them, you're carrying their bags, you're there as part of their journey. You know, you're not the dad that was never there. To me, that's the greatest gift.
No, sure. And that's definitely one thing I wouldn't change. It's been a good experience for me because you grow in other ways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's funny the delusion you have when you're a parent, because you feel like when I'm a parent and I've got to instill my values and lessons into the kid, and then as soon as they're born you realise they teach you as much about life and yourself as you do to them.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now go back to where we sort of were but weren't, was you basically said, I do my thing, I turn up, I'm first or I'm second. Like, and I really felt like that came through you, like you just knew. Like that's just a normal thing. Like you breathe air, I finish first or second.
No, but
and I didn't mean that in like you're being cocky. I meant that in that like.
Yeah. Well, the thing
that's
is,
just your.
The thing is that in sports, well, at least in the sorts of sports I do, is the stopwatch and the tape measure. They never lie.
Yeah.
So if I'm a 10-second runner and you're an 11-second runner,
or a 20-second runner,
you never beat me. It's
And
even if you get to smaller increments, that's kind of how it is. You know, unless I've had a brilliant run, there's too much wind, or I'm running downhill or something. You know.
But so you never let those fears or because there must have been a fear or a doubt sometimes come in.
Why?
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm asking you.
No, but again, I personally don't practice 6 or 7 hours a day to have fear and doubts. The closest anything untoward ever happened to me was at the Los Angeles Olympics. And I was winning the decathlon pretty easily. Yeah. And in the 7th event in the discus, Jürgen Hingsen, the fella, he had 2 personal best throws, and he'd gone from being way behind me to being quite far in front of me. And I had 2 crap throws. Yeah. And if I didn't improve, then he would definitely win. Yeah. So the only thought in my mind as I was walking in for my 3rd attempt was, you know what, you've had 4,000 throws this month, you've probably had 35,000 throws in the last year, you've never had 3 bad ones in a row. Whereas I suspect a lot of people walking into the circle
I've just had 2 bad throws.
are shitting themselves.
Yeah.
And you know what? Guess who threw a personal best?
That might be you.
Yeah. No, because...
So it sounds like you become a good self-coach in your mind.
Yeah, maybe it might be that I'm a good self-coach, but I also know that good things happen to good people, and I believe that.
So there's a bit of faith in it as well.
Absolutely.
Faith in the process, faith in the practice.
Absolutely. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and I practice a lot.
Yeah.
You know, while I'm not anywhere near a world-class, for argument's sake, discus thrower, I know that I can always throw 45 meters or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I truly believe that good practice just makes you stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. So every time you go out, you've got the memory of everything you've done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely believe that.
How do you think the world of athletics has changed?
Well, I happened to compete in what must have been a golden age.
Yeah.
Because football and rugby and cricket was rubbish. We weren't doing well on the international stage at just about any sport, and my sport had just produced Seb Coe, Steve Cram, Steve Ovett, and I get to stand on the shoulders of those giants. I mean, I do a thing that nobody's ever heard of, and yet people are kind of half interested.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in
And
fairy stories.
And you think there's an element of luck and timing and all of that?
Serendipity.
Yeah.
Because my strongest suit is that I'm the luckiest bloke in the world.
Yeah.
And I'll go to my grave believing that, because you know, things normally go well for me.
So you have the faith in the luck will look after you, and you balance it with taking the opportunity when it's there.
Absolutely.
Can you think of any moments in your career where, if you look back, that was that crux moment, Was there, maybe like the chickenpox moment from the person? Any more of those?
No, not really. No? I mean, it kind of, as you say, for 10 or 12 years, it was just going in a good line upwards.
Yeah.
And then you get old, and you start wearing out, and and you got to retire. So yeah. No, but it wasn't every month or every year or anything. There wasn't particular flashpoints or anything.
No.
Those things just kind of
just
steady,
just compounded momentum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a lot of subscribers who are just starting a new venture or want to start a new venture, and you've reinvented yourself in more than one way. What would what could help you reinvent yourself and carry on and move into a different career and still have purpose and still be a happy person when you've leaving an old identity behind?
Oh, that's a complicated question. I just think that you got to do a couple of things with your life, and that is that if you're trying to move on, you kind of have to understand where you're trying to get to, and what you want to do with yourself and all that, and that basically you just have to plan and give yourself different goals and all that, whether it be short, medium or long-term goals. Yeah. I think that you also have to, once you've done the planning, you have to prepare. So it's not much different than training for sports. You do all the preparation, and if you need to learn about IT, then you go off and do it. You need to learn a new language, you go off and do it. You got to find a new partner, go off and do it. Yeah. So once you've done, and it's probably the hardest thing you have to go and do, you have to persist. Because if you're trying to reach new heights and all that in whatever your endeavour is, if it's worth doing, it's going to be tough. And so you just have to keep knocking on the door, and at some point, the door will open.
Yeah. So I've become, over the last sort of 4 years, quite good friends with Frank Bruno. And I've interviewed him on the podcast, and he's done quite a lot of work with us, done some speeches for us. And he said to me that very early in his career, like 1920, a coach of his says you've got to think about your life after boxing. And, I think it looked outside the media like, the panto was just because everyone loved him and that kind of thing. But he had a bit of a plan. Did you have a real plan when you were young beyond your career? Would you advise athletes to plan a bit for, in your world, you could have got an injury and you're done. Then what do you do?
Absolutely. My personality is all my eggs in one basket.
All right, so you're all in.
I'm all in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my kids, I would say to them,
well, this is interesting.
I would say to them, understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're going all in, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But know that, things out of your control happen, and that there is no harm having or making preparations for other things.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I would say to them, it's probably better to go to university.
Yeah.
And still do the training and all that kind of stuff.
Buy a couple of properties on the side, that kind of thing?
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything to, just in case.
Yeah.
But while it's not for me, I understand that it could easily be for other people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How important a role did your coaches have in your career?
They were kind of pivotal, but then again, kind of not. I'd have been pretty good if you were coaching. Golf.
You'd have been the best for 20 years, not 10. Yeah. No, you wouldn't.
No, I would have.
Thanks. Cut. No. Yeah.
No, I would have been. I was always going to be pretty good,
Yeah.
But whether I was going to be the best or not, that's a different matter. Because funnily enough, in the decathlon, my best is, let's pretend, 8,847.
Yeah.
And 47 points is 0.2 of a second in 100 meters. So it's nothing.
Ooh.
Right. One of my coaches once asked me, and we'd been training for 5 or 6 years together. So, as I say, 350 days. So we'd spent a lot of time, 6 hours a day. He said to me, what do I think he's contributed?
Yeah.
And I said to him, 50 points.
Yeah.
And he was devastated. He was absolutely But I said to him, 50 points takes me from being the third best bloke to being the best bloke.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for any more from him. But he was so hurt.
Well, yeah, I think I would be, yeah.
No, but it's the most important 50 points.
Of course, yeah.
Because it's the 50 points at the top.
Yeah.
It's not the 50 points down the bottom.
Of course,
it's the 50 points at the top that I can't make. I can't make that jump without him.
Yeah.
But it's still only 50.
Yeah.
But he was hurt.
No,
he was
he'll go to his grave with that, won't he?
He's gone.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
The next week.
Yeah. Okay, so what did he do to give you those extra 50 points?
Do you know what? He just was there every single day, making sure that rain or shine, we were out there doing it.
Yeah.
And that's all, just time spent.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had pretty good knowledge of techniques and all that kind
Did
of
he
stuff.
help you technically, would you
Oh,
say?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we were throwing the shot twice a day, or the discus twice a day, or probably, he was there doing it all.
Yeah.
And he was there.
Yeah.
Which was probably the most important thing.
Yeah, because sometimes just knowing someone's there, probably in all walks of life, even if you don't really use them, knowing someone's there must give you a little bit of extra confidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How did you, like the decathlon, surely it's, I'm not a very au fait on athletics, but surely it's the thing that must be the hardest to train for, because how do you do so many disciplines? Because you can't train all 10 every day, I assume.
No, probably every other day or every 3 days.
Yeah.
You do most of the things. Funny enough,
You do upper body, lower body,
not quite. But funnily enough, the guy that we're talking about, Bruce, his idea was that if you ever get yourself in a stressful situation, the things that you don't like are the things that are going to let you down.
Yeah.
So his idea was that we would always do the things that we were worst at twice as often as the things
so
you do.
Instead of working on your strengths as a focus, you're working on your weaknesses.
Absolutely. So your weaknesses get better,
Yeah.
and your strengths kind of stay the same.
Yeah. And do you still think that's the right philosophy?
I think it's a brilliant philosophy, because there are always going to be points where things are not necessarily going well, and you want to be able to, you want to have the confidence to know that they're not going to get any worse.
Of course, yeah. And I suppose 47 points, the difference between putting 0.1 seconds on your 100 or 3 meters down on the discus, I guess the downside's bigger than the upside, is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So it sounds like maths was probably quite an important part of this.
His maths was
yeah. So he did bring that. Yeah. Okay. So if anyone's watching who is a decathlete,
what the hell are they doing watching this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we probably haven't got that many decathletes. But what wisdom can you impart?
I don't think it's any different to the stuff we were just talking a minute ago, because I think that nearly all endeavours require you the same basic attributes. You have to be tenacious.
Yeah.
You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to go and train and prepare, and so to be better at stuff.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. What it is usually lots of hard work.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is you're doing, but I don't think most things are rocket science. People try and make stuff complicated.
Of course. Yeah.
And because they're going to make some money out of it. But I don't think. I think you can kind of cut away all the bullshit, and what you're left with is a lot of hard work, a long period of time to get better, and you kind of...
Did you used to watch other athletes? Were you inspired by other athletes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time. And not necessarily the ones you would think.
No.
Some of the people I think are the best athletes that I've ever had the pleasure to either watch or to know have been people who train like I used to train for fun.
Yeah.
You go down to any athletics club, people are there 4 or 5 days a week, and they are training 2 or 3 hours a day, and in terms of time, they're pretty rubbish or pretty average, but in terms of commitment, they're Olympic champions.
Yeah.
And...
Because some people don't have the attributes, do they?
Absolutely,
But they have the heart.
Absolutely. And those are the people that I think to myself, I like your style, because you've got no reason to be here on this wet and windy day, and you're out here and you've been out here. I've been here 3 hours, you've been here longer than me.
Yeah.
And and I think those are the guys that inspire me.
Yeah. I think sometimes the celebrity world or the media world, they pedestalize all the most successful people, but I personally am inspired by everyone. I think humanity is inspiring, not just the person who's the best. So. Okay, so if you could go back to, I don't know, that time when the chap had chicken pox and you started decathlon for the first time, and you know what you know now, being a coach to you, what advice would you give to yourself?
Don't change a thing.
Okay.
Do you know why? Because I've had the best life of anybody I've ever met. And 95, 99% of it has gone exactly the way it should have done.
Yeah.
And the odd couple of things about, pulling a muscle or having to retire, that's
going to happen, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So, there's nothing I would change. Because it's been all right.
Yeah.
It's been all right.
Yeah. This podcast is called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. What does that word mean to you, disruptive?
I think...
Someone's laughing in the background there.
I think it's mostly about not necessarily doing it the way that everybody else does it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a good value to have.
Yeah.
Because there are, as I've found in life, there are many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And of course, you can be conventional and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't mean to say it's the only way. I think that there's no harm in trying to find an easier, shorter way to do stuff.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't necessarily mean that you leave all the fundamentals.
Sure.
But shouldn't necessarily stop you looking.
And how do you think you were different?
I think that I was very lucky when I first started, I trained with a bunch of guys who, while not internationally very good. They were really dedicated and really committed. And so that when I first started as a 16-year-old, I was doing 6 days a week because that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so I just was lucky enough to...
So being around good people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the best way to learn, is to be around people with good habits.
Yeah. Because you tend to do what they do.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know any different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just think that, that's, as I said, I'm the luckiest bloke in the world.
Yeah. Okay. I'm really grateful for you giving your time to this. So
No problem.
thank you very much. Can you let us know what your interests are now, maybe where people can follow you, or I don't know if you have the Daily 5 Minutes.
No,
yeah, you do.
No, you can find me on the daily5minutes.co.uk.
Which is written in the back there.
Which is written on a very nice piece of paper, being held by my niece.
Favourite niece, you've got to say.
Oh, sorry, my favourite niece.
And thank you for arranging this. So what is Daily 5 Minutes?
Daily 5 Minutes is a whole lot of 5-minute exercises, because everybody says, I want to get fit, but I got no time. So we've done these exercises, 5 minutes worth, and we've got three different levels, which are basically a beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and anybody can do them because they go anything from just doing simple lunges to doing press-ups on your knees and all that kind of stuff. And it's just really to encourage people who say they are very time poor.
Sure.
Yourself, do you do much?
Exercise?
Yeah.
Do my best. I built a gym in my basement.
But do you use it?
Yeah, about 4 times a week. I'm just sitting next to you, your guns are out, and I'm feeling a little bit. What do you say about comparing yourself to others? I try, yeah. I used to do a lot of martial arts, I had a couple of black belts, so I'm comparing myself to my mid-20s when I was, a different life, but I think it's really important. Yeah. Bobby does karate. Yeah. I think it's really important to do sports, and I'm just building an outdoor gym, so I've got, I figure if I spend a load of money on it, then
you have to be forced yourself to use it.
Because then Gemma will be like, you spend all that money on that gym. So I just bought this 100-kilo tyre and I flipped that, and I can't walk now.
All
so
right. That's a good
try
idea.
My best. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, how about one day you come down and do one of my circuit classes?
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. That puts a bit of fear into me, but you've got to make yourself uncomfortable, haven't you?
Well, I think every once in a while, if you come to the big city, you might as well.
All right, well, we'll shake on that then. That's very kind
of
her.
So you guys have seen this. He's going to come to the gym.
Cut it out.
By the summer. He's coming by the summertime.
All right, well, I'm getting married in 7 weeks, so I might need to come here about a day before the suit fitting.
Okay.
Maybe, so.
We'll just wire your jaws shut.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You'll be fine.
All right.
So if anybody's anywhere near Putney at any point and they live here, why don't you come down and we'll give you a free session. You can come down and spend a couple of hours. All you've got to do is mention the Disruptive
Entrepreneur. Do you want to take 2?
Yeah. Go on, you do it.
No, all right. No, you did good. They know what the podcast is. So, also, we were talking earlier about you sometimes do like charity auctions and you'll do a session or something. Mm-hmm. So if I could raise enough money from the community and donate to your charity, maybe you could do that.
Yeah, we could probably do something.
All right then. So maybe we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Who
do you support?
Either Bernardo's.
You're your ambassador for the
or Marie Curie, or I usually do a couple of charities a year. So.
All right. Well, we try and do our bit as well. So we'll try and get you a few grand, and then maybe that'll help.
Okay.
All right. Real pleasure.
Listen, Rob.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.